All right, hello and welcome to this day on AYV Television on Channel 33, on the radio 101.7 FM, on the Facebook page AYV News. Drop your comment and we will definitely defend them for freedom. Well, it's an edition of this day. We want to look at ways for fight against drugs, in the country. And with the current increasing, within the country for the last month or so. And as a way of bringing the notice and creating awareness to that, a senior citizen and a former /President, Minister of Information and Communications, and former Member of Parliament, Honorable Ibrahim Kargbo, popularly known as IBK, and writes the President Dr. Julius Madabio with regards to the growing concern of that. And he did have the studio for talk on that and also probably look at governance and democracy as one person will get vast experience in politics. Welcome to the show, Ibrahim bin Kargbo.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Yes, you're always welcome, sir.
Yeah.
And you decide for write the president and with regards to the growing concern of drugs, within the country. Sometimes back, we don't see young men don't be so creative, seeing the likes of Pampas, Tramadol, and even to Kush, which take this center stage. And now we don't, get allegation of cocaine, within the country. Why decide for write the president?
Well, a very serious problem. In the first instance, when things like happen in any country, it can almost develop into some kind of embarrassment for the country. That drugs then just come overtake almost everything in this country. So some of we not just believe for the criticize, we also believe for come with solutions and observations. So the letter was just a piece of a letter which I wrote to the president to just remind him that it's his responsibility for help for make we all fight this whole menace. And also importantly, we all not forget, say, only a few months, a few weeks ago, we all been concerned about the Kush in this country. We don't overtake everything. All of us are victims. One of my grandpicking them going to Kush. We almost lost him. And a good number of people have been destroyed, young people. And we all keep on saying that the young people are the future of this country. They cannot be the future of this country if we just sit down, we allow things like drugs to overtake the entire system. So a few weeks ago, we heard about the incident in Guinea, where outside actually humiliate citizens. They bundle the out of Guinea, bring them come now. On the allegations say them involved in drugs pushing. And we also see how very recently we get this embarrassment where they say embassy vehicle, they arrest them with cocaine. And of course, we also hear about this very topical issue where see one Dutch citizen can in this country. So some people just decide, say, okay, it's not enough to just criticize. What do we do? Now we are talking about the reputation of this country. Apart from the fact that the drugs themselves will destroy young people them, and the fact that drugs don't almost overtake the country, because somebody they very close to the system. He told me a few days ago that if you go in a beach area now, you can buy cocaine for 1 gram for $50 United States, which means that you don't get out of hand. And other people believe, say, apart from Freetown, cocaine was scattered all over the country. And we should put a stop to it. Enough for me to just say them, oh, this and that. And I don't want to politicize this. Because what I see is that some people have to politicize the whole situation. And I don't want to look at it from an SLPP or APC angle. I look at it from a national angle. What do we do? Whether we like it or not, Kush is here. Whether we like it or not, cocaine is here. And therefore, we as citizens of this country should address the issue. Now, it's a matter of confidence of the people. I don't do in PR work for some time. I don't do PR for President Momo. I don't do PR for Alex Koroma. I don't do PR for Ibrahim. And also when they talk on behalf of government, it's not easy for me to convince the public. But therefore, you should be very smart enough to be honest. Whatever information you pass on to the public, not for cover up. The whole thing is for you to tell the public what the truth is. We get a saying in PR, for say when you are communicating with the vast majority of the public, what you do is to give them 70% truth, and the 30% you can manipulate for your own political reasons. Yeah. So we not believe in that anymore. What we believe now is that let us tell the people the truth and what is happening. And I see efforts by people where they talk for government or where they talk for the institution, they try for cover up. Now when you cover up, public confidence is lost. And what we want to achieve now is to make sure that we get the confidence of the public. If we don't get the confidence of the public, they cannot help us to fight these drugs. I need the cooperation of the public for we fight these drugs. If we accept, say, this drug is here, and once it is here, what do we do to make sure that we contain it? So this was why I suggested some of these issues to the president. But now it's a matter of public confidence for a start. Yeah. And I identified some areas, some people, key stakeholders of the public, where we bring them closer to the government, let the president talk to them on a one-to-one basis, make it give the version of government to them people here, right? We say, for example, take the journalists. We say, take the people, the Christians, the imams, the reverends, etc., etc. Yeah. These are key holders in the system. The women's organizations, and a good number of other organizations, call them together, sit down, and talk to them, tell them this is what I am going to do to address this issue. Because public anxiety now is that, okay, the drugs are here, but what is government doing to fight this problem? And this is why you should communicate more effectively. In that letter, I said it is good for us to have press releases. Good. It is good for us to have what you call address to the nation. Very good. But that alone is not enough. You need to get public confidence. Call these people and tell them what the situation is, and allow them also to be part of the conversation. Because what is also weak in this country now is conversation, communicating with the public. And the communication should not be just a one-side thing. It has to be top to bottom, bottom to top.
But I think several times, government will engage the probably interreligious council and even talk to them about how the message not church them and mocks them for look like, and also civil society organization, and other security sector as well. Even in government, creates a secretariat where they fight against drugs, not the country. With all of that, you think, say, government still noble for do more for fight against drugs?
They could do more, because you know why I suggested this, apart from the traditional way of communicating, is that because this matter has gone viral. It is being discussed now in England, it's discussed in America, it's being discussed internationally. You only need to take social media for see the moment you press the button, it's Sierra Leone, about drugs in China, drugs in Guinea, drugs in all over the place. So what do we do? This is a special case. This is why I'm suggesting this. You need to bring back the confidence of the people. You need to win the confidence of the people. Many people not can assume say they continue to a pariah state. Many not can feel say all we are doing now is just cocaine. We want to convince the public that apart from this talk about cocaine, we are also doing something as a people, as a government, as a nation to fight this menace.
But what the government for do now, for change the perception, like you mentioned, not only for Sierra Leone, but the image of the country when it talks about issues around drugs?
And you communicate a little bit more than you are doing at the moment. Talk to the public a little bit more than you are doing at the moment. You agree with me, say, the Minister of Information he trying best. But the problem still persists. You only need to listen to the international media to know, say, the problem persists. They are trying to push Sierra Leone to the point whereby people would soon begin to believe that Sierra Leone is a transit point for drugs in West Africa. This is what we want to avoid. Because we are also part of the international community. We do not want to be branded in that fashion. Now, it we say the communication aspect of it is very, very important. Not just talk to the media, not just talk to the social people, just also talk to people who are key stakeholders. Let me tell you, when the students rioted in this country, it was not a simple riot anymore. All the students, Lutra and others, they almost overthrew the government, right? And some people sat down and said, this is not just a matter of the president going to the radio to discuss anymore. Let us look at some other fashion. So we say, okay, call all the stakeholders, call them Big Padre, call them Amide, call everybody, the world sit down. So we sat down, everybody sat down. I was a very young man at the time. Everybody sat down, questions were asked. Max Bello and others from Academy asked questions. Hastings Spins from Grammar School, the Imam Sise from the Timni Mosque, the bishop, everybody asked questions for 5 hours. We debated it deliberately. And the president conceded that mistakes had occurred. There were errors. And I think I should take a change in this whole thing. I will conduct elections in the next 2 to 3 weeks. Make we change the face of the government. Because things don't bad off. You know that he conceded. But he also gave an opportunity for people to raise the issues. So it's not just enough, not the traditional business, okay, today on Monday, we'll get press conference. No. This matter don't spread. And some of us are embarrassed. Now we are being threatened by the fact that, oh, if you go to passport like England, then go search you, then go humiliate you, etc., etc. We want to convince the public that that may not be the case, that we are doing something to correct that. So now make with the talk say, the traditional method is good, but we should do a little bit more, right? Like I said, the Minister of Information tried his very best. But they try, but if you look at social media, the thing is not going. Let us do a little bit more.
And you mean the bad news don't escalate or don't supersede the message from the government as well?
Yes, the information is negative.
And how formative things say the government for use now for change the perception of people, like you mentioned, and it's no secret that most people don't say now, even if you get a Sierra Leone passport, you have a cross longer, you have to go to another country, there are tendency for them even search you in a way that you self not going to expect that because of the negative aspect of how things only take place over the years. But I say somebody will get vast experience, and what do you think say need for be done now in order for ensure we before get things back to normalcy?
Well, to bring things back to normalcy is what we require at the moment. Therefore, like I said, it's a matter of public confidence. Bring as many people as possible back to your fold, right? Where mistakes have occurred, concede. Where people have committed grievous offenses, punish them. Let the public know say you are serious about it. So these are some of the things we are talking about. You know, I've told you about quite a number of things when they happen. I don't in a government for some time. I don't in the private sector. I don't in the media. I don't see how matters are addressed. You know, for example, if you take like the Ebola, at one time we nearly ran into difficulties because people are misappropriating funds for the Ebola. But the president took action, right? You can go give the government bad name. Therefore, about the discipline of ministers. One time, ministers, in fact, openly, were supposed to set good examples. The president had to fire them, right? So you know, not only traditional say, okay, like I warn you, this and that, you have to take firm action immediately for corrector. So now we talk about people's names are being tarnished, right? Even innocent people. Now, you listen to social media, oh, this person, now they in the cocaine business. Poor people, their name. People's reputations are being now tarnished, right? Very important ministers who may not even know about the cocaine. Then they call the name they give them bad name. So I think that we should do a little bit more in trying to, instead of just politicize the whole thing. I don't like this politics about when it comes to issues like this. This is a serious national problem. Let we all sit down as a state, as a people, for make we address them. It's not a matter of APC or SLPP. It's a matter of us, the people who own this country, to save the face of this country. This country should not become a center for drug distribution. And this is why we also need the government to help us. And this is why I think that the government should be able to do that. The president should be able to organize us, because he is the head of state. Yeah, so this is it.
So you think that the president, the government, as a whole need for set up a fresh task force for see as a nation how we for before claim the glory, if to say so, and also change the perception of people, the message going back to community for letting people understand that governments are making strive in the fight against drugs in the country.
Well, you need a little bit more than a task force, but definitely you need a system to be put in place for make effect for bring back this country in reputation. Make it not be like I say, this country not just about drugs. Other things are happening that are positive, but nobody's talking about them anymore. Is anybody talking about agriculture anymore? Nobody's talking about agriculture anymore. You tune to your radio, everybody's talking about drugs. It's talking about somebody arrested, this and that. It's talking about what is happening in Holland, etc., etc. But the important thing is that talking about a task force, okay, but what do we do to make sure that to convince the public? We need that kind of a system, right? We don't go see that no more because there's a thinking here. I've been in journalism for a while. Politicians, I'm also a politician, believe that after 2 weeks, they're going to forget. No, they don't. When the matter is grievous, they won't forget, right? Until you do something positive. I gave an example of Shaka Stevens and the students' riot. People thought that after 1, 2, 3, they will go back in a class. No, they did not, right? They sat outside. They made it impossible for the state to function. What do? You bring them together. You sit down and talk to the people. To us, it's important. You remember Kabia in Labour Congress riots? Yeah. You were young then. It almost crippled the country. All the workers in this country refused to go to work because they needed changes in the governance system, right? The president had to concede. He had to sit down and pleaded with them. And they talk, and everybody saw the elders in the society became part of the process. They discussed it, and the workers went back to work. And the president did what he was supposed to do to correct the issues. To us, it's important. So now, don't get this matter. Nobody has been killed, but the fact of the matter is that it is getting into our nerves. It will destroy the reputation of this country. I spoke to my friend in Brussels, and I have friends in Brussels. Yeah. I was a member of the European Union delegation from Sierra Leone. So I made some friends there. And he said to me, jokingly, Ibi, don't come to Brussels now and go to any of your politician friends. They will say you are a drug dealer. Well, it will be a joke. Yeah. But that kind of thinking, in fact, is fearsome. We don't want to think like that. We don't want this country to be restricted to be a country with a drug business. Money is good. But the fact of the money is that we don't want to destroy the reputation of this country. We get president tomorrow, right? Look, I listened to somebody who was interviewed, I think the Minister of Justice of Holland. Yeah. When he was asked the question as to whether or not this man, Lydekas, had left Sierra Leone, you know what the answer? Possibly he has gone to Guinea-Bissau. And why Guinea-Bissau? Because Guinea-Bissau is the only country in West Africa that is known to be a drugs country. So in other words, the insinuation is that he left a drugs country and he has gone to another drugs country. We don't want that reputation. And we think that we should do a little bit more. What I do not like about what we are doing at the moment in this country is to politicize issues. When the time comes to conduct elections will be conducted. Who loses, loses. Who wins, wins. But when it comes to an issue which has to do with the reputation of our country, which has to do with my reputation, right? Which has to do with the reputation of our children, we should treat it more seriously than just talk politics, right? So these are some of the issues I'm talking about.
So you think we not put politics into this fight and against drugs at the initial stage, from when Kush alarming at the country, and tramadol, Kush alarming the other dangerous drugs as well, and with the recent cocaine saga, as a nation, we don't play politics into how we still struggle for win the fight. And how we for move away politics, like you mentioned, into some of them national fights, how we, involve every parties, whether you're from APC, SLPP, UDM, NGC, whatever political parties you belong to, for, fight against such a dangerous situation like this?
Well, in my letter to the president, I mentioned it, that in tackling this matter, we're not for just restrict them to one party or to the government alone. Bring all the political parties together. Bring the imams, the reverends, bring everybody together. Look at it seriously and find a solution. Yes, I agree with you. When we just see it as a SLPP matter, let we embarrass them so that they will lose power, then you cannot solve the problem. Then, in fact, it also affects you. We belong APC. We belong to NGC. So to us, we should not be looking at it from that angle. Because it's very, very important. And I think the president has authority. We gave him authority in the Constitution to be able to bring all of us together to find these matters. And he should not shy away from that. To us, it's important. We won't give the responsibility for running this country. If we see any situation which threatens national stability and respectability, he should take action to make sure he brings all of us on board to address this issue. This whole business about just, APC, SLPP, it's not enough. We want to bring this issue together. Mark you, when they classify your country as a cocaine country, it's not a joke. Internationally, you are a pariah. You should fight hard to make sure that you wipe it out from your thinking. And this is what we are going to do. Let us remove this cocaine thing from our thinking. Now everybody is saying that, Piki themselves they smoke cocaine. I don't know whether they smoked or sniffed, what I say. But they say Piki themselves they smoke cocaine. Right? Or big band they take her. Then Piki said they take her. Now they even tell me, you go along the beach, you go to Red Net, you can buy them for $50. So what kind of reputation? We don't want it.
And as a nation, finally into this conversation, what do we need for do now? For wipe it out, as a country. You mentioned that, I remember when we get the Ebola in this country, and the former president, Dr. Nasbai Kumabi, they even called the now president, Dr. Julius Maada Bio, for come on board, for say how best as a nation we can for fight on that. But now, what we need for do now, and what's in the president?
Well, you won't bring the point back that you don't politicize it. You bring everybody on board. Yeah. During the Ebola, I was advisor to the president. And what we did was to look at everybody in society and bring him on board. From journalists to this, opposition, SLPP, everybody was on board. We made it possible for everybody to participate. Even the Lebanese community was brought on board because they were also part of the whole process. So this is it. So if you ask that question, all I can say is that everybody must be seen to be part and parcel of this whole system to address this issue. We are not going to reduce it to just an SLPP or APC matter. It has to be a national issue, which all of us should treat very, very seriously. And I think if the president decides to put in place the structures to address this issue, he will bring on board all of these bodies I'm talking about. Once he brings them on board, then we know how we handle them. So to us, it's important. So, that question is very important because in the end, not to just one person who can solve the problem. Now, it is our respectability that is in danger. It is the grace of the country that is in danger. So we want to make sure that we do not politicize it and destroy this country.
All right, Ibrahim Kargbo, Honorable, former Member of Parliament for the main opposition, All People's Congress Party, and we didn't have the studio for a talk about a letter he writes to His Excellency the President, retired Brigadier Julius Maada Bio, with regards to the ongoing issues surrounding drugs-related issues in Sierra Leone. All right, welcome back. The show that this day on YV Television, Channel 33, on the radio on 101.7 FM, on our Facebook page, YV News. Drop a comment and we could definitely find time for it. I'm still with me, Honorable Ibrahim Kargbo. They are the studio and we'll be just done talk about issues around drugs, as he be right. His Excellency the President with regards to that and prefer solutions as a nation, how we fight against drugs in Sierra Leone. Honorable Ibrahim Kargbo, now look at governance and democracy. Being that you get a vast knowledge into politics as well.
I hope so.
Yeah, sure. And so now talk about governance and democracy. With your experience as a nation, how far we don't go for building structure of the system of governance and democracy?
Well, of course, you have to look at whether we maintained the thinking when we came up with the 1991 Constitution. One of the first steps we take as a nation, we are talking about democracy, was to move away from the one-party Constitution of 1978 to the 1991 Constitution. And Momo was the president, and they gave the okay. And during his presidency, we got the 1991 Constitution. We actually said we should be a democracy in Sierra Leone. Well, we have tried, although they overthrew him in between, and Kargbo came in as the first civilian president who actually attempted to implement the 1991 Constitution. He did very well, up to the point Usai left him. And then the transition from the Kargbo regime to Ernest Koroma again was a double transition. It was not only a transition from one president to the other, it was a transition from one party to another political party. In other words, from the SLPP of Kargbo to the APC of Ernest Koroma. So we have tried all our best, this and that, to get the state institutions function and to look at the constitution again and attempt. But people always talk, say the constitution itself is not sufficient. There were other, because now we debate in the parliament, so I know what I'm talking about. The aspects of the constitution that we need really for be looked at very seriously. So now we talk, say that we take a review of the constitution. You remember about the Kawan constitution? Yeah. Kawan came in and attempted. I was also part of that committee, and that now we're supposed for come take. But generally speaking, we have done reasonably well. When you imagine, say, we come up from a serious and brutal war, and we conducted elections under severe conditions, where rebels were the inside city of Freetown, and yet we got results, and we got a president, an elected president, and we tried our very best. But I should give Kargbo the credit, because when he came in, he tried his very best to unite the country, to bring everybody on board. And to him, it really did not matter whether you were APC or SLPP or NUP or whatever the party. He ran this country as one united country. We make very easy for making he succeed. For example, I remember when they go United Nations after the war done. I think he decided that, okay, make them not just go see an SLPP delegation go. I was in my office. Now he called me. Now I say, Ibrahim, I say, yes. I say, do you want to go with me to New York? I said, please, I want to. He said, yeah, I'm a member of the APC. You need somebody to be. Then I'm going to feel, say, we don't begin unite. Now I said, well, talk to my boss, sir. So we spoke to the authorities, and they agreed, and we went together. And even the people in New York were very impressed that here was a situation where you had Jody Ali from the University of Sierra Leone was part of the delegation. Joe Pimabi from the Democracy Commission was part of the delegation. Ibrahim Kargbo was part of the delegation, and other people. So we came back, and everything was moving well. And again, he made sure that all the institutions of state functioned. It was difficult. There was no money, but they functioned. And I think I should give him that credit up to that point. The elections were conducted the second term. First term, he won. Simply because the public had confidence in him, and he had to win. And he came back the second time, handed over to somebody else, and then Ernest Koroma contested, and Ernest Koroma won. That was a test to the virality of our democracy. And it did work at that time. And there was a peaceful transition. Because in governance and in democracy, the test is the transition, whether it is peaceful or violent. And in this case, in the case of from Mr. Kaba to Ernest Koroma, it was peaceful. It was a peaceful transition. Then, of course, Kaba also transferred over to Ernest Koroma. It was a peaceful transition. So this was a way by which, this was what Kaba did to demonstrate that he wanted this democracy to work. Then Ernest Koroma came again. He tried his own little bit. And I think he scored some marks here and there. And we tried our very best. What Kaba did was that he did not draw any line between APC and SLPP. Mark you, I was APC, but I was interviewing SLP ministers on radio and television. He wanted to know how his ministers were performing. And he saw me as a good journalist. And he said, IB, you go and interview them. So every Thursday I went there to SLBS and I interviewed them. And they performed remarkably well. That's how the public assessed the whole thing. Oh, this is a working system. Right? Don't forget that people like Kadisisi and others who are very, very hardworking. They changed the face of democracy in this country by coming up with the National Commission for Democracy, the National Pledge and all of those things. So this is a clear indication of success. And as Koroma came in again, he did his very best, set up institutions, the Open Government Initiative. He wanted people to question him where it was necessary. The attitudinal change. He wanted people to be part of the whole process, etc., etc., until he handed over to President Koroma. President Bio. President Bio came with his own programs as well, and he's still working on it. To us, it's important. So the democracy is still working. We have a little bit of hiccups here and there, but as people, we are resilient. We will work it. We will work it out.
You talk about transition process, and I think, you know, I actually really talked to somebody else, and they tell me, say, we still struggle with the transition process, not as heads, wherein president will come, you know, hand over power to the other president, the outgoing go hand over power to the incoming president, but also from supporters' point of view, we don't see that over the years. The political party, we lost power when they do transition to the other party. Always we can see them go to them party office, them vandalize party structures. You know, we don't see ministers them don't be put down motorcar after transition process. You know, government people most them seem for the vandalize. You know, fights everywhere during that process. But as a nation, I will forget that right. Not only the heads.
We're aware of that. We're aware of that kind of problems. It makes the whole system very untidy. But you go meet former minister and treat Mutuka, you go Sele Kandong, Le Waka by food, you go this and that. And I think this is why some of us suggested that we have some weakness. And this is why I want to take a second hard look at the Constitution itself. There is no transition mechanism. The National Commission for National Transition in other countries supervises this kind of arrangement. It means that the moment the new president comes in, right, he makes sure that everything is done properly. The old people hand over quietly, peacefully, etc., until there is a smooth transition, right? We now do now by the grace of God. Right? But there is no mechanism, there is nothing written down to tell people that this is what they should do. For example, now in America, you have a transition period where the old people going out and the new set of people come work together to make sure that there is an effective transition system. And we need to work towards that. If possible, set up a national commission for political transition. Because not only here, because when the APC wins a seat elsewhere, and it is not their own party that was occupying it, you have the same kind of problem. So now that's one for address. Yes, that transition is a serious problem. And people say, oh, wait a minute, what kind of power? That kind of thinking should not continue. You know, it should not continue at all. Because we see it as one of the things, the way they hamburg the system. I remember, if you want democracy to work, you should be honest as well. And some of us had problems with our colleagues, our friends. I remember when we came to power as APC, one of the things that some of us suggested was that we should allow, and the president, Ernest Koroma, allowed it, we should allow the former ministers breathing space for them to hand over properly, which he did. He gave them that opportunity.
Yeah. I think it was 3 months or so.
3 months, right? I was information minister appointed, but I sat in an Oval Office for 3 solid months waiting for Moskakai to hand over to me, right? So that was some kind of civilized way of doing it. And apart from that, people listen, supporters, people listen to you. So, OPA, let's set up Commission of Inquiry. Let's find out who that way there. So they started. I was not here, I was in England. I was in Zimbabwe. And I came back and I was told that Commission of Inquiry was going to start. And that Mr. Dr. Wuri was going to be invited to the Commission of Inquiry. And in one of my arguments, the president asked me whether it was necessary to continue. I said, it's not necessary. We are just going to open a Pandora's box. And this will delay our own activities as a government, right? So we stopped it at that point. And don't forget that at one time, some people came again, because you need to avoid tension. In the politics of Sierra Leone, you need to avoid tension. Somebody came and said that some soldiers in Makini, Cheko, were in the process of making arrangements to overthrow Ernest Koroma. Right? So there was tension. People came, oh, well, let's arrest them. People were arrested. I was a member of the government, and I wanted to look at the list of the people who are suspects, and we looked at it, all of us. And we decided that it was not necessary to charge these people, all of them coming from the same part of the country. The public will not understand. I will take 18, 19, or 12, or 6 people from Mende line, right? And you take them for treason and you execute them in the end. Right? And the president decided that, okay, let us send them back to their own institution. They will take care of them. So we sent them back to the military, and they took care of them. Who was sacked, right? Who was demoted. But again, in running a state, you avoid these tensions. But that's always the possibility for people to come up with ideas, right? And statements, their utterances are very, very important. How can you say that Kargbo is not a citizen? I'm a citizen of this country, whether you like it or not. But again, we should try our very best to make sure that we see ourselves as one united people. I have told people that you cannot. I was criticized at one time when I was in Parliament, for those who did not know, that I was too often in the office of Abbas Mundu. And Abbas Mundu was coming to my office as well, and he was speaker. I was the deputy leader of the opposition. And his own people were criticizing him of doing business with the opposition. And my own people were saying that, oh, you are too close to Abbas Mundu.
You're selling game.
Yeah, but the problem is that I grew up with him and went to the same school. Abbas Mundu, myself, Sabura, we went to the same school, we grew up together. When he was in England at the Commonwealth Secretariat, he was so close to me, he used to send messages to me to go to conferences, etc., etc. Even when he was minister under Sheikh Stevens, I used to spend most of my time in his office. We became such close friends, both here and abroad. But the fact of the matter is that people want us not to be friends. And I don't know. And somebody wrote in social media, oh, Kargbo is visiting Abbas Mundu. Abbas Mundu is my brother, he's my friend. I don't care whether he's an SLPP man or not. I'm APC, he's SLPP. But the fact of the matter is that we are Sierra Leoneans. We are the same people. So when we talk about democracy, it should not be reduced to this childish approach. We all should be the same people. And like I told people, even Madabiu, the president of Sierra Leone, he and my younger brother were best of friends. This is how I knew him. Yes? And I respected them for that. They were friends, so what? And I keep on telling him that if Ibrahim was around today, if he did not die, he would have been a very important person in our government. Because they were best of friends. They went to the same school, the both school. So this is how you perceive issues. But everything in this country is about hate, about that. You belong to that tribe, you belong to this and that. And the other issue in terms of making sure that governance functions, like I'm saying, transition. When we distribute public offices, right? It is for good reason. We want everybody to be part of the process. But when a government comes and begins to remove people on the basis that you are supporting that person, you are supporting that party, of course it creates problems. It should not be the case. So we should see ourselves, whether we are Timnis or Mendes or Sosos, whatever the tribe, for democracy to function effectively in this country, we should give everybody an opportunity. Somebody was talking to me this morning, and he was complaining that he's an SLPP man, a young man, who is complaining that his tribe is being marginalized, right? He's a Creole. And he thinks that some of these positions should also be given to Creoles. And I say, why not? It's your right. He said, but these people leave the provinces, they have their own areas there, they come to Freetown, take our positions again. I said, what do you mean? I said, you mean the mayor should always be a Creole? He said, yes. He was frank enough to say that. But these are the kind of things we're talking about. If we're talking about democracy in this country, we should also be tolerant. We should also accept each other. Because if we take tribalism as a yardstick for development, then this country will never develop. And that has always been my position.
After the June 24 multi election, there are a lot of issues within that period, and then we see the setup of the Tripartite committee. And at initial points, your party, the main opposition APC, they decided for be part of governance, for mayorship position, chairman, councillors, members of parliament. The party say will not go represent, into all of them sectors and day. But later, said to come in, ECOWAS, AU, come on board, and including the Peace Commission who gets now the country, be also team up for Sierra Leone Cable for resolve that. And we say resolve lead to the setup of a tripartite committee. And this is all a way of getting, like you talk about democracy and good governance, straightforward. And the APC come back into good function of opposition participating into governance. With all of that, then poses the lead for some delay, and we see some issues about violence, the November 26th issue, all of that, and slow the pace of governance structure. And part of the key recommendation into the tripartite committee is about unity and national cohesion, we're very key. But also, there is this area of about making a recommendation to the electoral processes in the country. We, for asked about the issues of the transition process. We talk about a period should be given to any political party after you win election. The US can get that system, they will probably a month or so.
Transition period.
Process, yes, as well.
Process, yes.
And that is part of the recommendation into the tripartite committee to the electoral processes. You think some of them issues that they put together before, change the face of a lot of things what they face these days? You talk about I bring that up to you. Some transition process can be very brutal in some cases as well.
Well, I don't look at the tripartite recommendations. I believe they were done in good faith. And if they're fully implemented, it will change the face of this country politically. But again, it's the goodwill, the honesty in the implementation process. And I we always worry about. But the fact is that when we members of parliament we decide not for go na parliament, and when they also decide not for we councillors they're not going to council mayors, etc., etc. I personally think that it was a decision taken out of anger. No? I mean, I personally believe in the processes of the state. I think this tripartite would have taken a different dimension today if we actually had gone to courts to challenge the outcome of that election. But whenever people attempted to suggest that kind of position, they were insulted. And therefore, the Bintumani thing came up. It was not properly addressed because what people are still contending about is the fact that people believe that Samora Kamara should be president of Sierra Leone, right? But I've looked at all the documents, and we were participants in all of these activities. The Bintumani peace document did not mention anything like that. And we took part. Why didn't we raise that issue there at that point? And then the tripartite itself Nothing was clearly spelled out as to what the outcome should be. The simple question of who really won the election was not asked throughout the period. So we find ourselves in this situation. Remember the under the table arrangements that characterized them people here, this tripartite. If you compel me, make a right article. I write a whole article. I say this matter, let we know, just put her under the table. Let we tell the public what is happening on a day-to-day basis. So the public will know. Because after the tripartite, if nothing happens, the public will not be satisfied. Now the problem is that the tripartite is over. The recommendations are there. But still you have people talking about electoral justice, which means that something was not addressed. Some information was not made known to the public. In other words, the people, even the Commonwealth, the ECOWAS and others who participated, the fundamental question as to who won the election was not addressed. Because they've not come with the position for saying, well, look, let us end this matter. And then at the body of the tripartite, say, well, this matter, let us end that now. No matter if you win the election, now the president, let us continue. Of course. But people are still mentioning the tripartite. And you know, I was in America recently. I know the American president, the State Department, is treating the tripartite very, very seriously. Right? In other words, our future collaboration, we feature cooperation with the Americans will largely depend on how we implement the tripartite recommendations. But to me, not to that the issue now. How do we address this real issue? We in our APC, no more Hamburg, because we still have now the Samura faction. We have the Samura faction, we have the other faction, that is mostly the executive and the followership. So what do we do to make sure that we address this issue? Samura continues to argue that he won the election. But at no point did he make it clear to the public that I am the president, that I won the election, right? He should have gone to one of these committee meetings, the tripartite or the Bintubani, to say, well, I won the election, I want this matter to be discussed at this level. But they're not discussing it. So this is why some of us will continue to plead with him so that we all will sit down and we'll discuss this matter more effectively. I raised it seriously again at the recent Elders Council of the APC. I said, this matter, we have to resolve it. The APC cannot move effectively and become functional if the issue of Samura Kamara and his electoral justice are not addressed finally. And they agree with me that we're going to look at, after an opportunity, to bring all the stakeholders, the people who have divergent views, to address this issue. So looking at it, again, it has to do with the proper transition mechanisms. There is nobody in this country. When I look at the electoral commissioner, the electoral commissioner is not talking to anybody. And he is the man, I know him very well, right? I was one of the people who approved him in parliament. But the fact of the matter is he should be talking to the public. You don't allow the whole world to lambast you, discredit you, give you all this bad name, and you cannot even give your own version to the story, right? And this is what, again, when you ask me about my letter to the president, he has a right to give his own version to the story, which is very important. Because what you are saying now is that Kone, the electoral commissioner, has performed such a grievous mistake or error or sin that he cannot be forgiven. But again, that is the perception of the APC. Now, does he have a version? Does he have explanation? Right? He does not. He has not come up openly to give us a version. So this is it. So when you talk about this, all of these things, we need an effective transition mechanism. Otherwise, we'll continue to fight over and over again. Wow. I see my young boys come to my office. Hey, Pa, wait, no, it's when we left power, that's what we will do. But that is not enough. What we do is that we put a mechanism that is acceptable by all.
All right, so we'll discuss for round up now. But quickly, as at some point you be right to the political party APC for you call for unity and national cohesion at the initial stage when there was a lot of issues with in and out with members then. And you asked that the party for be inclusive as well. But there are a lot of progress, and currently the party beyond reform and also give ID card to members them.
Yes, of course.
And some of them developments. And then recently, I see, delegation, go to the former president's Dr. Nesbitt as well. Yes.
Yeah, the party is working assiduously for correcting errors then. Recently, we had a meeting of the Elders Council, and the chairman of the Elders Council tabled my letter for discussion, and it's been discussed. And I think this is how I operate. I like to be factual and straightforward. And it's not enough to sit down and grumble about certain things. It's also good for you to take up certain issues. And I think that I'm happy that the chairman, the members of the executive were satisfied that I wrote them that letter, because I raised certain issues themselves. Just like I wrote the one to the president, and I wrote one to President Trump, because I think that we should not just sit down and see a situation whereby 1,500 of our people are being evicted from a foreign country without us saying a single word. So I wrote to him a letter, and I pleaded with him that the case of our own people in America should be given an opportunity. Should be looked at secondly, give it a second look, because some of them went there during the war years under circumstances that were not peaceful. Some of them again, they may go there at the time of the Ebola. Some of them go there at the time of the Corona. Some of them go there at the time of when we get problems in the country. So because of that, some of them don't want folks no more indefinitely. And then they won't have much to do, because this country by itself is struggling with survival. And I pleaded with them. I said, could you use your offices to make sure that our people are given respite? So I did that deliberately, not because of the government, not because of anybody, because Kargbo believes that as a citizen of this country, we should also seek the welfare of our people. Mark you, my family is in America as well, so I have good reason to write that letter. So to us, these are the things we do.
All right. So finally, as we close, what thing we message generally to Sierra Leoneans, in terms of us building the peace, national cohesion, unity, and how we're able to manage situation like this as a nation. And you also mentioned about the letter rights to the president, retired Brigadier Dr. Julius Madabio, in the fight against the increase in drugs in Sierra Leone, more especially cocaine as well.
All I can say is that the president may mean well, and he will put structures in place to make sure that we fight this cocaine thing, and these drugs generally. And to us, it's important that we do so. About the other aspects, like peace and reconciliation, etc., etc. One person who took that bill to Parliament when I was there was a man who was opposed by the APC. That is David Francis. David Francis is not a darling of the APC party. But of course, I befriend almost everybody. So David Francis has always been my friend. And we supported him when he took that bill. And that institution has become very, very useful today. It's performing very, very a noble role, especially during the transition after the elections, etc., up to this point. And we also hope that people will continue to work towards national unity and national cohesion. To us, it's important that we do so. We have an NGO which is headed by me, but also members like John Benjamin, David Tambayo, Ibrahim Bundu, and others. We are members of that organization, which we are going to launch very soon to address the issue of national cohesion. Don't forget that Benjamin is from the southeast, I'm from the northeast, Ibrahim Bundu from the northwest, Bayo is from Kono, etc. We want to set examples whereby we can bring people together in this country. It is necessary because in the end, it will do nobody any good if what Sidon was let this country scatter now. Yeah. Somebody was suggesting to me, and I agreed with me, that even the Nigerians, and I've been to Nigeria many times, even their offices, the way they recruit people in their offices, you will see it's a deliberate effort to make sure that they unite their country. If the head is an Igbo, the deputy will be Hausa, the other one will be a Yoruba, the other will come from other tribe, etc., etc. Right? They don't allow one tribe to monopolize state power. To us, it's important that we look at that as well. So we all agree with that. So we all go try our best to make this country go before, and let us, for goodness sake, take this drugs thing very seriously. Let us not politicize them. Let us just believe in a matter where don't can confront we, and we self as a people for make we very, very best for make we fight through, make we succeed for correct them. Not to just mad up you in problem in one green. People even mention his family name. To me, that does not care. That does not bother. If you go commit any offense and business standing. But to us, the state comes first. And we also want to be very certain that we maintain the respectability of the state. And one thing by which you can undermine the respectability of the state, now when you begin to allow more drugs in the country freely. We agree and we hope that everybody will fight very, very seriously for address this issue. This is a matter we work for Sidom as a people, united together for make we fight this issue. We don't get this problem today. Not we can look at somebody say, oh, now this man bring and come, now this without bring and come, we will find out later on. But let us stop it now. To us, it's important that we stop it now and we make sure that we bring this country to a state of normalcy and respect.
Definitely. There are a few comments, probably you could choose for response because we don't get time. And Halaji Mabiti says, and if we want to clean the image of our country, we need to go after all the importers and sellers of drugs as a nation, and that's why that will clean the image of the country. The media should promote that positive move if taken, and all those who are finding pleasure in spreading bad news about our country just for political gains should stop. Often, Kamai says, Mr. Kargbo is a true national patriot with no partisan issues with rivals. He exhibited this by adopting the son of a late SLPP politician with a difference in tribe or regional count. Mr. Kargbo did say, Mr. Kargbo, how is that guy doing now? Regards. And final comments from Alaji says, thank you, I.B. Kargbo. May the Almighty God bless you for this patriotic move you are talking. And I think if the majority of the politicians will think in this direction, that after election we should move or come together and address the country's problem and a country rather than fighting to come back to power, or those in power are fighting to destroy the opposition, not to gain power anymore. Maybe you want for...
Well, okay, that's all I can say. This country is our country. We should fight very, very hard to make sure that we unite it. And shouting about politics and about tribe would not do us any good. To us, it's important about the people who don't mend them. You know? I feel proud that all the people who went through me have succeeded. And one of them is Julius Sandi, who was Secretary to the President. Now he's the ambassador to Nigeria. I taught him in school. I have Miriam Samu with the National Democracy Commission. I taught her in school, and she's done very well. Khalifa Kurumau is now, was one time Chief Immigration Officer. I taught him in school in Port Loko. He's now in England. He's a lawyer. I have a lot of friends, a lot of people whom I brought up together and whom I saw as my own children even up to this point. So to us, this country is our country. We should unite our country. My children too have benefited from other people being accepted by them as their own children. To us, it's important.
All right, thank you very much, Ibrahim Ben Kargbo.
Thank you.
Thank you for being part of the show. It's a pleasure always having you here at AYV. Thank you very much, sir. Yes.
Thank you.
Well, Honorable Ibrahim Ben Kargbo, and former Minister of Information and Government, posting and also later become a member of Parliament of the ruling, of the main opposition, All People's Congress Party. Thank you very much, Ibrahim Ben Kargbo, for being part of the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, you're always welcome, sir. Well, as we end this edition of News and Current Affairs show this day, and this day will return again tomorrow at exactly 1:30 to 2 p.m. because we're going to join live the government press briefing. Till then, do have a lovely day. Bye for now.